magical 10 years. I feel privileged and honoured to have been able to run such an amazing school. I suppose, firstly, it's the students. To work with the talent base that this school attracts, both UK and international, has been wonderful, amazing. So getting to know these students, dancers, human beings, and they go on to dance around the world in some of the top companies, and to see them have these amazing careers, it's really incredible. I mean, I go across to the Royal Ballet Company, and now after 10 years here as a director, but going back also when I was a teacher, some of those students I taught that long ago. Yeah, the whole stage is awash with students of the school, and to be a small part of that journey for me means a lot. It makes me proud, and also working with all the team here, the staff, the ballet teachers, the artistic team, but that goes through to operations, pastoral, academic. All of them have been incredible to work with, all very passionate, all believe in the school, and I think that's the thing that stands out the most is people, when they come and join this school, it's about their belief in the school and buying into its vision and buying into actually helping these students. They all feel the magic. So I think one of the strengths of a school such as the Royal Ballet School, and there are others that take a similar approach of holistic training and education, and of course the boarding as well, where we're also looking after them as young people. I think the training that a dancer has, and the discipline and the focus and following a passion, means that is so transferable into any profession. I think they're highly employable. I think that's even been proven. The nature of a young dancer, as I say, finding something that they believe in or want to do, and then they become highly committed to that. If not perfectionists, it is a trait of a dancer, for good or for bad, but the perfectionist side means that they will always want to do the best they can. So yeah, I think that it's very transferable, and I see them going on to have very successful careers, not just as artistic people still within the arts world, but also outside of that, like I say, as a lawyer or something else. And I think because a dancer's career is relatively short, I think we all know that, like a top athlete, there's only so many people that can carry on into their 40s and 50s. There are a few, of course, but many decide to step out in their 30s. And I think the ability of a dancer to have another career, to move into something else, and I think the fact that our training also helps them and equips them for that. And I think we have to look more long term. I suppose success for us is not just about whether they're going to be a top dancer, it's also about whether they're going to be a good human being in life, add something to society. There's going to be a career beyond dance, whether that stays in the arts, and many do, they stay in the arts, they as choreographers or directors or teachers. But as I say, many also step elsewhere, and I think if we can also see long term with how we educate them in the school such as this, then whenever they decide to exit that hopefully they're on the right path and have the tools to be able to carry on in whatever path that may be. Running a school and a school such as this over a decade, gosh, sounds a long time. It is a long time. There are many challenges, of course. There's many highlights, but we've been challenged, and I think probably one of the biggest has to be the COVID-19 situation. I think that threw everybody. How could we carry on supporting children through their education, their well-being, and also that goes to our staff as well, and keep the school going and keep their careers going, because that was such an interruption, such a very, very big interruption into their schooling, into their physical growth as well, and how they developed as young people, physically, mentally, emotionally. That was a really, really big challenge, not just for me, I mean, it's for everybody around the world. But there were some good things that came out of it as well. We teamed up. It created a global community. Many of us connected because we really didn't know what we were doing and how we were going to navigate the path forward. And I'm sure many people have spoken about this. And that has continued. And that's I think what I'm most delighted about, that global community of top professionals working together has continued with today's societal issues, what we're trying to work with. But I think we're still feeling the consequences of the pandemic and the closures that we experienced, some more than others in different countries, and young people and how they have physically developed. Has it actually put them in a position where their bodies aren't as strong as they might have been because they weren't able to jump as frequently? For example, stress injuries, we're noticing an increase in that. And we don't know 100% sure that it is because of that, but there is a good chance that development, physical development, was interrupted. Anxiety, I think everybody's spoken about that across the entire country and worldwide, that young people are now suffering from more anxiety, social anxiety, confidence levels, and we must note that will have impacted on that negatively. And then how can we therefore help them go forward out of this? And again, that's something we've never lived before, so we're still trying to help young people come out of that in a good way. But definitely, I think we're still experiencing the fallout from COVID-19. There's another aspect that has been hugely challenging over these 10 years, and that's been we've tried to be, well, we've been true to always doing what's best by the student and what's best artistically for the school. That's what we're about. That's our identity. That's our brand. That's who we are. But we have been challenged financially, like the rest of the world. I'm not saying we're alone. And to run a school like this, to give them the resource, the special education, training that they get, the facilities, the links, I'm a big believer in inspiration and experiences. To give them that inspiration and those experiences, all of that, it comes at a price, and the financial economy, of course, for everybody is very, very challenging. For the best part of these 10 years, only in the last 2 years, we're actually seeing an increase in fees that we can actually raise from the government. It's a brilliant scheme, the music and dance scheme, but for the government's challenges on the economy, we've seen no increases. So it's been very tough. It's been extremely tough. The curriculum, well, there's content of program. And then there is the method and the teaching practices. Classical ballet, we have a very high standard of classical ballet, and we still hold true to that. And we're still rooted in the traditions of classical ballet and the English style, and that we don't want to lose. But we have also had to adopt a different approach to the training program to enable and equip a dancer for a more versatile career. The repertoire in classical companies has changed significantly in the sense of they're still doing the big classical ballets, but there is definitely more contemporary work and different styles and extremes of styles, choreographic styles that a dancer now needs to be able to perform. Also the creative process. Today, very much so, I think, more so than in the past, the dancer is very much involved in that creative process, choreographic process. A choreographer will ask more of them to be more open, to be more able to contribute. So when I see that happening, and when we've seen that happening over the time I've been here, we've definitely had to look at the program, how much can we give them that can equip them for that career on that stage and what a professional dancer is asked of today. So yes, more contemporary work has definitely been brought in, not as a replacement for the classical, but to run alongside, but more improvisational skills, and also trying very hard to continue the belief in the artist and give them all the skills that they need to find themselves as an artist and to be that individual and that human being on there and be able to interpret roles. So the program has definitely adapted, evolved. How much can you fit into a day, into a week? We've also got to look at how much a young person can cope with. So what we try and do is give them the foundations so that they can go on and obviously learn from when they get into the profession. And I think the other part that we've looked at is not just the what we're teaching, but the how we're teaching. It's the cultural shift in the studio that I think has been a real change for us at the school, and I think around the world there are many people looking at that and trying to make the learning process a positive one, one where students can thrive, and they can also help themselves to learn and to develop as a young person. So we've put a lot of work into that with our teachers. The teachers have been very, they've collaborated with that process, and I think our whole teachers courses that we've increased and evolved over the past 10 years are reflective of that process. And I would encourage them to continue to be curious enough to look into how we're doing things and can we do it better, and do young people react in a better way and can have a better long-term effect if we tackle it in a different approach. And I think that's been a really interesting journey. The question does come to me often about the company demands on a dancer, on how much is expected of them to be a classical dancer, yet a versatile dancer, someone who can turn their hand to contemporary dance and in all its forms. And the volume, I suppose, the load that is asked of a dancer, because of course a company needs to survive, it needs to have performances to thrive. I think it's an ongoing discussion that I think directors are very much engaged with. I know there are many platforms, school directors, company directors. We're trying to do more of coming together with schools and companies about understanding how we can help a young dancer move into the profession, be equipped for the profession, and then we need to know, of course, what the profession demands of a dancer. Otherwise we can't do that. So, and there is a big question about load. How much can a body take? How much can a mind take? Some people are more resilient than others. Resilience is key in many areas. Someone does need to be resilient, but there's also ways you can help someone become more resilient, and then there are also some very, very special dancers and some great dancers that maybe they're not as resilient as another, but they have something to offer, and so how can we look after them as well? I'm a big believer in how wonderful it is that everybody's individual, and if you can find the right artists and dancers to make up a great team, then hopefully everybody adds in a different way. I think it's, as a dancer, and I was someone who had the good fortune of having being in the classical world and also having half my career in the contemporary world, and I really enjoyed that. And it was very much more, actually, in those days, classical company would be doing the classics, and there was a little bit of contemporary, but it wasn't as much as it is now. And then, of course, when I danced with Rombay Dance Company, we were very much doing the contemporary work. The classical companies are now doing the repertoire we used to do actually in Rombay as the flagship contemporary company. So that's a really interesting one, and they do it very well. I have to say, I mean, I look at the Royal Ballet dancers, I look at English National Ballet dancers and Dutch National around the world, and they are tackling contemporary works, and they're doing it really, really well. So, and that's really a pleasure. And it must be a pleasure for them as dancers too, because they get that variety. Is it for everybody? I don't know. That's some people enjoy the variety. Some people feel very much that they are more classical and that's where they fit. And some a little bit the other way. And I think they find that contemporary styles and movement is easier for them. I think it is a challenge for any dancer. You know, if you're going to suddenly be take on a classical ballet, a true classical ballet, Sleeping Beauty, Swan Lake, or those, and then you're absolutely having to turn those turn-out positions, and then suddenly the next program you're throwing yourself around in a different way, having to use a whole different group of muscles even. Yeah, it's a challenge, but dancer's a dancer. How do we prepare our dancers for the job profession? We give them good training. I think that's fundamental. I think we encourage them to be independent. I think that's very important. They need to stand on their own 2 feet, literally, in their career. I think good foundation training, steady, building those blocks is really, really important. Giving them a taste and different styles, of contemporary styles is important so they can adapt and be versatile. Looking at directors' visions and what kind of dancer they're looking for. We talk to them extensively and they are educated through their degree course of the companies that are out there, the styles, and that changes. I mean, even this year we've got new directors stepping into quite a big changeover actually of artistic directors and companies, and then the repertoire changes, and some classical companies or more classicals have turned slightly more contemporary, and that change has to be communicated to the dancers. But the dancers actually, they're fully informed of what's going on because of social media. I'm always interested to talk to the students every year when they're looking at which companies they're going to apply for, what their first choices, second choices, third choices are, and where they feel that they would be a fit. And I learn from them because they're so on the ground, they've got friends that are at different companies, they see what's happening, and it's word of mouth a lot of the time as well. And of course we can advise as much as we can, but they're also a source of information for me, and I learn every year from my students. The repertoire for the end of year show is an important balance because, and I will say this over and over again, that it's about the learning processes that the students go through throughout the year. I'm not a company. I love programming, I have to say. I really enjoy putting an evening together or a show together and choosing the repertoire. But the performance is the final outcome and performance experience for the students who have gone through a process of learning different styles and important ingredients into repertoire. So for me, what's very important, of course, is classical ballet, traditional romantic classical ballet. There is the heritage of the Royal Ballet. I must have that in there. They need to know their history, so from Ashton to Macmillan, etc. It will be contemporary styles, sometimes of the greats of a period of time, like Yuri Killian, who's also an alumni. And going into the creative process, I like them to be created on, so they need to know what it feels like to be created on and can contribute to that creative process. So we will bring in young choreographers and give them the opportunity. Like we have Gemma Bond, who's an alumni. She's come in and she's creating a work for them. Ashley Page, who from a long time ago of the Royal Ballet, and I really like his choreography. He's come in and worked with the Year 11s and created on them. So yeah, we've got quite a mix from Paquita. We're starting off with Paquita, but we're starting off with Paquita McZerka for our young 11, 12, 13-year-olds. And I think it's a really strong piece to learn and put on the stage. And then, of course, the Paquita suite after that. We have La Valse from Ashton, stunning piece, extremely hard, actually, the style and also the stamina that they need, but I do think the upper school students do this very well. What else do we have? We have Gemma Bond, as I've spoken about. We have, I'm also going to put in the Pas de Deux from Rhapsody. They just recently performed this on the Garnier stage in Paris, along with 7 other schools, and it was an amazing event where we all came together and we all brought something that was from us, I suppose, from our style. So the Bournonville style was there because we had the Royal Danish. Canada was there, Dutch National was there with Hans van Manen. So it was a really wonderful event for our students to experience and also to come out on the Garnier stage. Wow. Lucky them. Joshua Juncker, who's a former student. I've known Joshua actually since he was 10 years old in Holland, when I was in Holland. And he joined the upper school at the age of 16, and he's now in the company as a dancer. And he's also, I think, a very, very talented young choreographer. And he created a piece for Dutch National Junior Company last year. And thanks to Ernst Meiser and Ted Branson, they allowed us to do that here for the school show. And also, it's such a pleasure that he can come over and work with our students. So the second years are tackling this, his style, contemporary style, and it is a contemporary piece. Again, it's a physical challenge and stamina for the dancers, but I think they're very much enjoying that process. And also to work with someone who's in the company, I think is great for that connection. I've also brought in Mistake Waltz. I love a bit of humour. I like a bit of humour. So Mistake Waltz is coming from Jerome Robbins. There's a beautiful piece for boys that is from Helgi Thomasson, Concerto Grosso. We performed it a number of years ago, I think about 8 years ago. I'm bringing that back, and it's so musical, and it's such the quality of movement in there for those boys to tackle. It's great. Of course, the great big défilé at the end. Also, there's a big folk piece for the White Lodge students, and that's all of the students at White Lodge from year 7 through to year 10. We've also got an excerpt from Didi Velman's Toot for the year 11s at White Lodge, and that is very different. It uses voice, it's fun, and it challenges their movement styles again. So I'm looking forward to that because it's very, very different to the style of Joshua Juncker, for example. So, and it's slightly more theatrical, and I think that's great because that helps our young people, our young dancers to open up and dare to be a little bit more. The school has evolved, it's changed with the times, it needs to change with the times. I do think the Healthier Dancer program that we have here is a huge benefit to the school, to young people, and being modelled elsewhere around the world. I think we're leading the way in that, along with some other schools like Canada and Australia. We're a school, and that's what it's about. And I really am truly passionate about that, and how we make sure their experience, and not just as a dancer, but as a young person, that journey for them is as good as it can be. And it's tough. There is no question. Being a dancer, and you're in one of the top schools of the world, and there's a lot of pressure on a young person, expectations that they put on themselves, or indirectly they can come. That how do we help them through that so that they come out okay, and that they're prepared for life, going to enjoy dancing if that's what they want to do, and go on from beyond that place. And I just want them all to be okay. The school show is about celebrating, I think, these young people who, whatever you think, whether you think it should be this way or that way, I think they have just done, they're all for themselves, they've all been on this massive journey, they've got to the end, and they're doing the best they can, and yeah, that's the best thing in the world. So I looking forward to that, and then I want to wish the Royal Ballet School, of course, the greatest of success in its next chapter, and I'm just proud to have been part of it for my chunk.